Hello, America. I'm Brilyn Hollyhand, 14-year-old conservative commentator and editor-in-chief of the Truth Gazette here. Still in quarantine. We've been doing mini quarantine interviews here over Skype during this coronavirus pandemic. We had, Mike Lindell, Dave Rubin, Alex Clark on the show. But today, this might be the most excited I've been for an interview in quite some time. This is a man that I had the honor of meeting in the White House last December. Somebody I've looked up to during his time at the White House. Now he is with the Trump campaign. Please join me in welcoming from Trump headquarters, the Trump 2020 campaign press secretary, Mr. Hogan Gidley. Hogan, welcome to the program. How are you?
Oh, Brian, I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me on. I really do appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I know y'all are crazy busy, lots of stuff going on in the news cycle, and we'll get into that today. But just thank you for taking time to do this. We got a lot we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Looking forward to it. Okay. Let's start out by talking about your new role in the campaign. You moved from the White House, where I met you, to the Trump campaign to fill the role of Kayleigh McEnany as press secretary.
Right.
Kayleigh has since come out as a celebrity in conservative news media as the new White House press secretary. First of all, tell me about the transition from the White House to the Trump campaign, and then the day-to-day operations you carry out with the campaign.
Well, I just have to say, I was absolutely blessed beyond measure to be even considered to work at the White House, much less actually do it for 3 years. Walking those halls and understanding that so many incredible decisions that impacted the American people, this country, the shaping of the world happened within those walls. And, every single day you find something else to just kind of look at from just an architectural standpoint, but also something else to think about. It was really an incredible experience, very weighty. There's a lot of stress and a lot of difficult days out there, but the highs are really high in the White House. The lows are really low in the White House because you understand the significance of everything coming out of that building and how it impacts real Americans in their lives every single day. And that was something that I will always treasure, no question, but hopefully I'll be back in the second term. That being said, coming to the campaign is something I'm really excited about as well. The president was pretty keen on it, wanted me to come over here, said we need some people out here fighting for us. We need you over at the campaign. I said, sir, I work at the pleasure of the president, whether it's here or over at the campaign. I'm happy to help out any way you want me to. And he sent me over here, and ever since then, it's been amazing. And, I got to tell you, it's a very different atmosphere over here. Obviously, we're excited, we're enthusiastic, we're ready to go. And not that you weren't in the White House, but there's a little bit different here in that you don't have the confined, messaging constraints that you do at the White House. Here's much different. You can talk, obviously, about your opponent. There's something that's called the Hatch Act that prevents you from talking about Joe Biden, prevents you from talking about the campaign. If you're at the White House here, it's all about the campaign. It's all about fighting against your opponent. And elections are about choices, and we here at the campaign every single day work to articulate to the American people just why Joe Biden is a horrible choice for the future of this country, and Donald Trump is the best choice to protect your families, to protect your freedoms, to protect the American way of life that we have all learned to love and appreciate, while we've been on this earth.
Absolutely, I completely agree. We are officially less than 100 days out from the election in November. Can you tell me what the campaign's focus is over the next 100 days?
Absolutely. As you begin to kind of get closer and closer to, November, elections are about choices, and we've got a big decision to make as we head into the fall. And the American people need to understand that, a lot of campaigns, you talk about things in the abstract. So you say, I really want to do this when I get elected, or I would do this. I promise I'm gonna be able to come through on all these things I'm telling you. But in this election, it's interesting because Joe Biden was vice president. He has actually been in elected office for half of a century, if you can believe that. And so when you look at the choices, it's pretty clear that Donald Trump has stood up for the American people from day one. And I always like to say, you don't have to guess what Joe Biden would be like for the economy, for example. We saw depressed wages. We saw millions of jobs going to China, hundreds of thousands of jobs gone because of his decisions on NAFTA. And Donald Trump rebuilt this economy. He did it once. He'll do it again. So everyone was succeeding under this president. Now, what happened was we saw an unprecedented, unforeseen virus come into this country from China. It has been a global pandemic. The president took bold, decisive action in shutting down travel from China, from Europe as well. He got mocked for it at the time, as you'll remember. Joe Biden even called him xenophobic and racist. And then about a month afterwards had to come out and say, Yeah, maybe Donald Trump was right. He did save some lives with those decisions. And so, again, you don't have to guess how Joe Biden would handle a pandemic, because when he was faced with swine flu, he just stopped testing, just decided in the middle of it to stop. So 60 million Americans were infected. He just stopped it. And one more point I'd like to make, whether it's, COVID, the economy, or the culture, Donald Trump is on the right side of them. So in the last 8 weeks, we also don't have to guess how Joe Biden would treat lawlessness and criminal behavior in our city streets. He said nothing except to defund the police. And now we're seeing police union after police union come out and say, even though we supported Biden in the past, now we're supporting Donald Trump because we're sick of getting kicked in the teeth by Democrat politicians who are throwing us under the bus. We're out there trying to protect the American people, make our communities safer. We leave the house every single day, these brave men and women, and say, I don't even know if I'm coming home at night, right? And they're putting their lives on the line for us. And Joe Biden won't stand up for that. Instead, he's standing up to protect those who are rioting and looting in our streets. That's unacceptable. Those are the choices we have in this upcoming election. So I'll sum up with this. If we're thinking about it logically, your job is not safe, your family is not safe, and your American way of life is not safe with Joe Biden. And that's something we're going to continue to push on as we head closer and closer to this election.
Well, it was a good point, and we'll get to Joe Biden again in just a second, but I wanted to talk more about the campaign real quick. The Trump campaign has seen a rise in enthusiasm, especially in the last few months, specifically in vote parades around the country. In fact, I will be a part of a Trump vote parade in my hometown on Lake Tuscaloosa tomorrow at noon, and we're expecting a great turnout. I just talked to some of the people that are over the parade, and we're just really pumped up about it, really excited. But real quick, as a part of the campaign, can you tell me how the campaign views the rise of the silent majority's enthusiasm in vote parades in this country?
Well, I tell you, when you take a look at some of the waterways across this country and you see these American patriots on those boats and you see those flags and you see people out there on their own dime, on their own time, getting out to support this president on a weekend, it really is heartening for the campaign because, as you said, it's the excitement and the enthusiasm that we have that Joe Biden doesn't. So when we have more than 1 billion views, billion with a B, on our social media platforms, he logs on and has 19 people watching. I think 17 of those were mainstream media members just trying to donate. The other 2 are staffers. And you see the excitement growing, and more people are registering as Republicans than ever before, either outpacing those on the Democrat side. That's all exciting. But you get to see that in practice and in real time in these boat parades. And when they're traveling across the country, you can see it. And the news reports are so exciting. I can tell you firsthand, the president loves them. And when he sees them, he's very excited. We love to see the Instagram posts afterwards. We love to see the Twitter posts in real time. Anything you guys do out there to support this president, put it up online, get involved. We want to see it. And remember, it's not just about getting out and showing support of the president. It's getting other people in that boat with you to say, we've got to fight for this president because we have to fight for the future of the country. Those people do it every single weekend. I love to see it. And in fact, I'll be breaking news on your show here. I think I'm going to participate in a few boat parades coming up as well. I'm real excited about that.
Well, we'll be looking forward to it. Looking forward to see some pictures from that. We're real excited about the boat parades tomorrow.
I don't know if Tuscaloosa would have me. I'm an Ole Miss guy, so it may get ugly over there.
We'll have you.
We can get we can find some common ground over there supporting the president.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome.
Good.
Well, speaking about enthusiasm, a candidate that has zero enthusiasm is Joe Biden. Let's talk about him for a second. I know we have, but Joe is supposed to announce his VP pick at some point next week. And a big question right now is whether or not he will be attending the debates as scheduled. As a campaign, can you promise that you will hold Joe Biden to the 3 scheduled debates? And what do you think his VP pick is going to look like next week?
There's no question. Look, we want more than that. We've even pushed for 4 of those debates. But the mainstream media is already trying to, crack that or close that door and say Joe Biden shouldn't really debate with this president. So it's pretty obvious where the mainstream media is going to fall on it. Who knows what Joe Biden's going to do? We'll absolutely hold his feet to the fire. But it's the media that continues to cover for him time and time again, regardless of the mistakes he makes, the weird comments when he's off script that he always puts out there. So we expect him to debate, and we think that's one of those moments, if we actually get to that point where we're on stage next to Joe Biden 3 times, that we can, in fact, point out some of the differences I talked about earlier, point out the clear choice of safety and security, law and order, peace and prosperity versus what Joe Biden had for 7 years and, quite frankly, for the last 50. Failure after failure after failure, refusal to acknowledge that the American worker, the American middle class was struggling, instead choosing China over America. That's a big problem. We want those things to come out, and we think debates, obviously, are a great place to do that. We just don't know, where the Biden campaign wants to be, because as you've seen, when he does pop his head up out of his hidey hole, it's always scripted. It's always questions that are so simplistic, like, why did you choose Delaware to do this event? I mean, just no tough question, no concern about something he said he would do in the past and never did, like an empty promise or a lie he told. They never asked those questions of him. So hopefully we can get him on a debate stage and we can expose Joe Biden for who he is, now an empty vessel that has been filled by radical left agenda items, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, the Bernie Sanders. They're the ones controlling Joe Biden right now, pushing him further to the left, and he's going willingly. He's embracing it. So he's taken all of their plans, made them his own, and he's touting how excited he is about proposals that really aren't left proposals. They're like more socialist agenda items. We've got to stop it. Hopefully the debates can be a way we can do that.
Absolutely. And that's what's so important, who his VP nominee is going to supposedly be, because, that's who's going to be running the White House if he gets in there, not Joe Biden.
That's a great point. I didn't touch on that, but let me just say, regardless of who the VP pick is, we're going to be ready to go and show the difference between whoever he has, and he's already floated a few names. They're out there, in the ether. The media's talking about them. Not a chance. Any of those people would be horrible for the future of this country. We'll expose that as well.
Absolutely. And looking forward to the debates. If I'll have an extra seat or two, feel free to let me know, and I'll be there to watch it in real time.
Sure.
But speaking of scheduling, real quick, I want to talk. The president announced he will be calling off the in-person RNC convention next month. Can you tell me what the campaign is planning to do in its place? And does this also mean that we won't be seeing any more of the president's signature rallies this November?
Well, I already broke some news. I'm not going to break any more as it relates to what the president's going to do in the future. And I definitely don't want to get ahead of something he would like to announce. We want to get out there in the public. We want to show just how excited the president is and how appreciative he is for all those states that voted for him when everyone said they wouldn't, how much he's been able to accomplish on behalf of the American people. He wants to tell them about it. He wants to thank them for the support. The problem is right now, as I mentioned, this virus has taken over the country in a way that, this president talked about in the State of the Union, of course, which Nancy Pelosi tore to shreds. So we've been on this early on. We want the numbers to come down. We're looking like we're getting a better and better handle on it every single day. The science has shifted a little bit too. So credit the president and his team for really taking this seriously early on when others didn't and were pushing people to go outside, weren't wearing masks. This president talked about it. He implemented it at the White House. And so it looks like we're getting closer and closer to the point in which we can begin to put together some rallies. I don't want to announce anything on the show just yet, but we love those things. We love to get out there. And I tell you, if no one anyone listening, if you've never been to a Trump rally, you have to go. It is the hottest ticket in town, and they are so much fun.
Incredible. Okay, last question here, and I'll let you go. Finishing out, President Trump rocked the waters the other day by announcing that he is considering moving back the election because of voter fraud concerns in states with mail-in voting. What's the campaign's reaction to the backlash, and do you think the election will actually be pushed back?
No, I don't think it's going to be pushed back. And I think it's interesting because the president was actually talking about all of the ways the Democrats are trying to sabotage this election. In fact, so often what Democrats like to do is project onto Republicans. And they said, look at all the ways you guys are corrupt when they're the ones actually participating in corruption. I'll give you a great example. It was the Democrats who said Donald Trump was colluding with a foreign power in Russia to change the outcome of an election. But it was actually the Democrats using a Russian dossier that was completely fake, completely a fraud, totally debunked to try and change the outcome of the election. So it was them. Same applies here. In 10 states, Democrats have already filed lawsuits to try and allow votes that come in after Election Day to be counted in those states. They're literally trying to change the date of the election, and they're blaming us for that. Look, mail-in ballots, fine when you're talking about absentee. When you're talking about universal mail-in, that is completely ridiculous. To try and change the way this country votes, which is one of the most sacred duties of an American citizen, 4 months before an election, to completely change what we've been doing in this country, for hundreds of years is absolutely foolish. It is fraught with all types of ways to cheat, to steal. Fraud is rampant. And you don't have to guess again what would happen because we've seen it already. California has hundreds of thousands of votes that are uncounted. New York had 2 congressional district primaries just a month ago. They still don't know who won those. They can't count them right. New Jersey is a great example. 20% of their votes in a recent election also kicked out because of mail-in balloting. So it is not a good system. It's not one that's effective. It's not one that's efficient. And the president wants a free and fair election. He wants every one of your votes to count just once, by the way. But he wants the election to be done in a manner that actually protects every single person's right to vote. And so we think if it's free and if it's fair, that the president will be reelected.
Hogan Gidley, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're short on time, but thank you so much for doing this. We'd love to have you back on before the election. Best of luck with the campaign. We're back here supporting you and just looking forward to see what y'all can do.
Absolutely. Anytime, and I will most assuredly come back before the campaign. Thanks for all you're doing out there.
Thank you, Hogan.